we are back with our review of Black Widow, which is only about 11 years too late, but, whatever. So people have been wanting this movie for a while, but Marvel just never got around to it, because they're stupid, but now they finally did it, and then of course it got delayed, a bunch of times because of COVID. I remember, I recently watched the director's commentary for Iron Man 2, and I remember, I'm totally blanking it, Jon Favreau, saying that, even back then, he was hoping that Black Widow would get her own movie, and that was back in 2010, so, only 11 years later, and...
Yeah, they waited way too long to make this
movie.
Yeah,
they should have done this, years ago, but, yeah, I mean, I guess, just general thoughts, it's kind of disappointing, the movie, to be honest. I was hoping that if they ever did a Black Widow movie, that it would go into, her backstory and...
Budapest! I want to know what happened in Budapest with Hawkeye!
I mean, they do kind of go into her backstory, but, the majority of the movie takes place after Civil War, so this isn't, an origin story or anything like that. And, yeah, so, the general plot of the movie is that after Civil War, Natasha is on the run from the government, and during that time, she decides to basically just, reunite with her kind of adopted family before she went to the Red Room, or I guess... Or were they saying that, she was in the Red Room before, and then she went to this adopted family, and then she went back? I didn't quite get that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so the family generally wants to basically take down the Red Room, and that's generally the basic plot of the movie. And then, of course, the main villain is Taskmaster, who ends up just being a very boring villain, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I'm not familiar with comics, but I know a lot of people really like Taskmaster because he's, a really cool character in the comics, and you'll probably be really disappointed with what they do in the movie. It's very, not interesting. Yeah, I was because Taskmaster looked really cool in the trailers, and I was really disappointed with what they actually, did with it.
Yeah, I mean, overall, this movie just feels it just feels too little too late. They should have done this a long time ago, and, now, especially now, because Natasha Romanoff died in Endgame,
Yeah, it feels very weird getting a Black Widow movie after, we know that Black Widow, died, so it's what is even the point of this? This character's dead.
The only point of having this movie now is to establish Florence Pugh's character of Yelena, who I guess is gonna tie into the Hawkeye series. But I mean, other than that, this movie feels kind of pointless at this point if it's coming out after Endgame, where we know she died, so... I mean, that already kind of, lowers the stakes of this movie for me, because we already know what's gonna happen to Black Widow after this, so,
Yeah, when you watch, fight scenes, you don't feel like she's in any real danger, because you already know, she doesn't die here, she dies later, so...
Yeah. I mean, I guess my favorite part of this movie, I would say, is the interaction between, Black Widow and her family, specifically her adopted sister, Yelena. Florence, the cast is all pretty good. I mean, they don't have the best script to work with, but, I mean, they're still all good actors, and they still do pretty well with, what they have. Just, the interaction between, Yelena and Black Widow and her adopted mother and father, that's probably, my favorite part of the movie, just, the chemistry between all of them, and, yeah, but I mean, other than that, the action isn't really that memorable. It's kind of shot weird.
Yeah, people said that they were, comparing it to, Winter Soldier, oh, this is gonna be on par with Winter Soldier. No, it's definitely
it's
not.
not.
Winter Soldier was way better. Still, by far, the best MCU movie.
Whatever, Civil War, but whatever.
No. But yeah, I guess the whole thing about, her adopted family, it was, she was sent on a mission when she was young to, these Russians to, pretend that they were, a normal family. I don't really remember why exactly they were doing that or what they were trying to accomplish. I guess they get caught and then they have to leave. So that's why she has this family that was, her pretend family while they were on, a mission to spy on America. I don't... It's not really made clear, what exactly they were doing there. And then afterwards, like in the beginning, she gets sent back to the Red Room, and the opening sequence, they have like an opening title sequence, sort of like, I guess, Guardians of the Galaxy, where they, instead of having like saving all that stuff for the end credits, they have some of it in the beginning of the movie. But the opening title sequences of Guardians of the Galaxy were, like, really, really well done and memorable, whereas this is just, like, awful. It's, like, one of the worst opening title sequences I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, it's just, like, this bizarre, so, like, it's over this really bad cover of Smells Like
this, like,
Teen
Evanescence
Spirit.
Cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's not actually Evanescence, but...
Yeah, it's really bad, and, like, it's basically just this, like, sequence of, like, clips of, like, what I guess is supposed to be the Red Room, or, like, bits and pieces of just random footage of, like, spies doing shit, and I don't even know. It's really
bad.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, like I said, like, it's very out of style for the MCU, because most of those movies do save that stuff for the end, but the ones that do, like Guardians of the Galaxy, would put the opening credits, like, over a scene, so that you're not just, like, mindlessly watching a bunch of, like,
and have them actually
dumb shit.
be, like, entertaining to watch, rather than you're sitting there like, what is this music?
Yeah.
It's
like,
it's
it went on for way too long. I was just sitting there like, what am I watching right now?
And albino, I'm a ski.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? It's, like, one of the most questionable song choices since that, like, weird Pitbull cover of Africa by Tony in Aquaman. But, like, at least that was, like, funny, man. This is just, like, painful. It's not even, like, funny. I saw someone saying, like, I'm really getting sick of these, like, slow, dramatic piano covers of, like, classic songs, or, like, these, like, dramatic songs, like, some sad girls sing.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, they did that in all, like, the, Zack Snyder movies. Like, okay, Lorde pulled that off for the Hunger Games with her cover of the Tears for Fears song. Like, that worked, but, like, I feel like ever since that, other singers have been, like, trying to recreate it, and it just, like, doesn't work.
Yeah.
You can't be Lorde. You're not good enough.
Yeah, so... I'm not quite sure what to say without, like, going into, I guess, like, spoilers, although, I mean, there's not that much that you can spoil, because obviously, like, we already know what happens to, like, Black Widow, and, like, nothing feels, like, at stake in this. Like, it's just, it's really forgettable, honestly. Like, it doesn't feel like anything was, like, accomplished at the end of the movie, or, like, having this movie, like, other than, like, setting up, like, Yelena's character, it feels like they could have just, like, not made this, and, like, nothing would have changed about the MCU. Like, this just, like, at this point, like, it's, like I said, it's too little too late. They should have done this a long time ago if they wanted this to, like, mean something, or, like, for, like, the MCU, but, like, as is, like, it's just, like, not,
I also feel like, this isn't really spoiler, so let's talk about this here. Like, they're kind of glad to be getting rid of Scarlett Johansson, because, like, I mean, she's a good actress, but she, like, has had a lot of controversies by saying, like, really dumb stuff, like, when she, defended, like, Woody Allen, like, numerous times. And now, recently, in an interview, for Black Widow, she was saying, like, how she was like, oh, Joss Whedon, he's, like, a great writer and a great, like, joke writer, and all the other people in the room looked, like, really uncomfortable.
Like, yeah, like, they made, like, Hulk, like, fall in your boobs. Like, that's great writing.
And it's especially funny because, like, she wasn't she, like, just criticizing the MCU because she was like, oh, they over-sexualized Black Widow.
Yeah, she was criticizing Iron Man 2 for doing that.
It's like, hey, why are you praising Joss Whedon when he, like, oh, he's a great joke writer? What about when, like, was it a great joke when he made Mark Ruffalo fall in your boobs while you were pregnant in Age of Ultron? Like, was that a great joke? And
yeah, like, I'm not gonna say that, like, she wasn't, like, over-sexualized in Iron Man 2, but, like, she absolutely was, but, like, at least, like, you could tell that, like, they genuinely, like, respected the character. Like, Jon Favreau was, like, you could tell, like, when I was watching his director's commentary, like, he was, like, excited. He kept saying, like, oh, I hope she gets her own movie someday, and he was telling this story about, like, when she first walked onto the set in her Black Widow costume, like, everybody just, like, fell silent because she looked exactly like in the comics, and, like, everybody was just so excited that, like, they were finally getting this character. So, like, yeah, like, you could definitely argue that, like, she was over-sexualized and stuff, but, like, they still, like, treated her character with dignity, and you could
Joss
tell
Whedon
that, like,
literally
they definitely
ruined her character age. Like, I hated what he did with her, like, totally destroying the, like, potential setup with, Hawkeye. Like, I thought that Hawkeye and Black Widow were gonna get to it, and she's like, no, we need to have some forced romance with the Hulk that no one asked for. And of course, that's especially bad now that she said that, considering that Joss Whedon recently has been getting in all kinds of trouble because he's been caught, like, being abusive to, like, female,
yeah, just being an
actresses.
overall
like,
terrible person.
I hate Joss Whedon so much. Yeah, and it's like, it's like, and she was like, oh, this movie, it's about, like, the Me Too movement, it's empowering women. It's like, how can you talk about, it's like, hey, ScarJo, how can you talk about empowering women when you literally defended both Joss Whedon and Woody Allen?
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, like, and the whole, like, empowering women stuff in this movie, I mean, it's definitely not, like, as, like, forced as it felt in, like, Captain Marvel, like, it just felt like that was, like, all, like, they were trying to accomplish with the writing, instead of just, like, actually making, Carol, like, an interesting character. It's, like, I mean, obviously,
like, when they played I'm Just a Girl over the fight scene.
But I mean, yeah, like, obviously, because, like, we already know and like the character of Black Widow, so, like, that already, like, puts this above Captain Marvel, and, like, she's already a more interesting character, even if this movie isn't, like, on par with the rest of the MCU. But, like, it's still, like, it feels very, like, forced, like, the whole, like, stuff of, like, empowering women that they try to put in this movie, just, like, it's just, like, it feels very kind of just, like, thrown in there at last minute, like, hey, we need to say these lines because, like, it feels empowering, even though, like, it's not actually, and it doesn't really have any substance at all.
It's like in Endgame, where they had that weird random shot where they're like, let's just put all the female characters together. It's like, hey guys, if you have so few female characters that you can fit them all in one frame, that's not the flex that you think it is.
Yeah, so I guess I don't really know what else to talk about without going into spoilers. Just, like, if you're, like, a huge Black Widow fan and you were really looking forward to this movie, I'm sorry to say, but you're probably gonna be disappointed. It's definitely not the movie that the fans were asking for. And it's just, they should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah, and they should have had it be about both Hawkeye and Black Widow. I wanted to see Hawkeye.
Yeah, Hawkeye's not in this movie, in case that wasn't clear.
But we're never getting that now, so...
Yeah, so, that's pretty much, like, all I can say without getting into spoilers. I guess for an overall grade, I'd give it a C. I mean, they tried, but, like I said, this is way too late for this, especially in Phase 4 now. The Black Widow already died, like, this just doesn't have any substance now. So yeah, I guess, like, first off, in spoilers, we can go into Taskmaster. So, they make a reference to the scene in, the Avengers when Loki is, like, taunting Black Widow over, like, the horrible stuff that she did, and he mentions Dreykov's daughter, and we find out that Dreykov is, like, the big, bad establishment guy behind the Red Room, I guess, and we find out that she blew up both him and his daughter in an attempt to kill him, although she ended up killing neither of them.
Well, Black Widow kinda messed that one up.
Yeah. And then we find out that his daughter didn't actually die. She's just, like, horribly disfigured now, and she's actually a Taskmaster, which I don't think that's what the comics were.
I think in the comics, he's a guy.
Yeah.
It's not...
But again, it feels very much like they just added it in because, oh, we'll make it a woman because female empowerment, even though, like, there's no...
I don't know what's very female empowerment about having, like, a disfigured woman
yeah,
be, like...
who, like, doesn't talk at all in the movie, like, maybe
who's,
says, like,
forced
one line.
to be a villain by her father, but whatever.
Yeah, so she's very boring. Like I said, she has, like, maybe, like, one line, and, like, when you find out her backstory, it's like, oh, okay, like, why does this matter? Like, it just doesn't, It doesn't
feel like they revealed it kind of, like, too early, I guess. Like, I feel like they should have saved it until later. Like, they didn't really do a good job of, like, building up. Because the way they usually do it is, like, they build up the suspense of, like, oh, who is this person? Like, there's this mysterious villain. Who is it? And then there's like with Bucky, it's like the big reveal, like, oh crap, it's Bucky. But with this one, they have like maybe like one or two scenes, and it's like, oh yeah, it's this person's daughter. Like, oh okay, well whatever then.
Yeah, and then in terms of like Dreykov himself, he's not very memorable either. He's just your typical corporate douche, I guess.
I feel like he's like very much trying to be like Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, I think like some review I watched called him like Russian Harvey Weinstein. But yeah, yeah, he's not very memorable either. And then in terms of like the other big spoiler is that we find out that the end credits, a post-credit scene, I should say, it's after Natasha died and her sister goes to her grave, and then the lady from Falcon Winter Soldier, Madame Hydra, is there, and then
I guess this was originally where she was supposed to be first revealed, but then the order got changed.
And then she's like, oh, you can, like, take a shot at the guy responsible for your sister's death, and I guess apparently now they're blaming Hawkeye for Natasha's death, even though that's kind of stupid and that doesn't really make any sense.
Because, I mean, she literally, like, he was trying to save her from dying. She chose to die. Like, he didn't, it's not like he shoved her off the cliff.
Yeah, so I don't know if, like, they're maybe, like, trying to say that, like, Yelena doesn't have all the facts or whatever, but, like, I don't know, like, that is kind of stupid, in my opinion. But yeah, so I guess that's gonna tie into the Hawkeye series, which is coming out, I think, later this year? I don't know when. They haven't, like, made that official or anything yet. At least I don't think they have. But yeah, so, like, again, like, other than that, that's only the real, like, the big spoilers that the movie has, and...
Oh, yeah, there was this one character, this, like, new character that was in one of the posters, and I was like, oh, who is that guy? Like, that's a newish character. Literally, he's just a guy who, like, gets Black Widow stuff. Like, he just gets her...
Oh, yeah, like, he's the guy played by O.T. Fagbenel? I'm like, probably not pronouncing that right, I'm very sorry.
Why did that guy get a poster?
Yeah, like, he's just a guy, like, here, I will provide you things. That's it. Like, he has no character outside of that. Yeah, so he's very boring, didn't need to be in this movie either.
Some people thought that, were they trying to make it seem like he was gonna end up being Taskmaster, or like...
I thought they were gonna do something like that. I mean, it would have been kind of cliche, but it would have been at least more interesting than what they actually did.
Yeah.
And in terms of, like, Madame Hydra, like, I guess because, like, I find it interesting that actually this was supposed to come out before Falcon Winter Soldier, and this was supposed to be, like, the big reveal, because, like, they don't really, like, establish who she is in the post-credit scene. Like, it's really only until Falcon Winter Soldier that she explains, like, she introduces herself and she gives her names and she basically kind of, sort of explains who she is. So, like, I don't know if, like, they changed that after the orders of the releases were reversed or whatever, but, like, if it weren't, like, this would have been a very, like, clunky way to introduce this character.
Yeah, Black Widow was originally supposed to come out in May 2020, and then Falcon Winter Soldier was supposed to come out in August, so it was definitely gonna come out first, so I don't know.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know if maybe they had her say more initially in the first cut of Black Widow, and they changed it. I don't know, but, yeah. So, yeah, I guess, like, in terms of, like, positives, like, we didn't really talk about, like, Rachel Weisz and David Harbour, who play, like, the sort of adopted parents. Like I said, like, the rating's not great, but they still do pretty okay with what they have.
I enjoyed seeing Russian Captain America.
Yeah, David Harbour's very funny as Alexei, and, Melina's not, like, a super interesting character, but, like, I do at least, like the scenes with her and Black Widow just, like, being, like, the mother figure that she never had.
And at the end, they're all family, and she's like, Alexei, you're really funny, so I'll forgive you for the fact that you participated in literal child trafficking.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, not quite sure what else to go into. I don't know if, like, I mean, I'm guessing we're probably gonna see Melina and Alexei again at some point. I mean, it'd be kind of, like, weird to introduce these characters and, like, not ever see them again. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I can say. It's just very...
The end fight scene, it's awful. The special effects are, like, so bad. It falls into that, like, third act fight scene looks awful, which a lot of movies have been doing lately, and I don't know why. Like, you know, like Wonder Woman, Black Panther, like all these movies were like it's like the epic final battle, and the special effects are it's like they just ran out of money and were like, oh, we used up all our money on the other shots and now the movie's falling apart, so we're just gonna have some like bad special effects here. Like there was one scene where Yelena is like she stabs like a propeller or like a gear or something on like the giant ship with like a stick, and then it blows up and she flies back, and it's like one of the stupidest looking things ever. Like people were sharing a video of it and you can literally see the wire attached to her on like they forgot to it was like, how much time did you guys have in between releases to like go back and edit stuff? Like how did you like leave that in? Like, during, like, when you were pushing back the release, didn't it occur to you to be like, hey, let's maybe, like, since we have all this time now, let's go through this movie again and, like, just touch up some things. But no, like, it blows up and it looks like a Disney Channel original movie. It's, like, that bad. It looks really, really stupid.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, all the action is shot like that, like, where just is very, like, shaky cam, you can't really make out what's going on. There's, like, a shot where Taskmaster blows up Black Widow's car, and you see, like, it goes, like, slow-mo of, like, Black Widow in the car from the impact, and it looks terrible.
But, like, it doesn't look as bad as, like, the end fight. Like, I don't know why all these, it's, like, wouldn't you think that, like, the final fight scene should be, like, the best-looking part of the movie? Like, if you have to... I mean, first of all, with all the money that Disney spends on these movies, there's, like, no reason why anything in this movie should look bad, but, like, especially, like, shouldn't, like, the epic end fight scene be, like, the best-looking part of the movie? Isn't that, like, the most important part of the movie? So, save your money for that. Like, why is it, like, all these movies... It's like they just run out of money towards the end, and then the whole thing just falls apart at, like, the epic final fight scene, and it's like, all these movies do that, and I don't understand why. Like, we want to see cool fight scene, it's a superhero movie, like, stop giving us, like, crappy CGI stuff that looks like a Disney Channel original movie.
Yeah, so I guess, other than that, the only thing I'll say is that, like, I wouldn't really recommend taking, like, little girls to go see this. Like, this isn't, like, when they say it's PG-13, they mean it's PG-13. Like, there's, like, stuff that, like, I definitely wouldn't recommend taking, like, little girls to see. Like, this isn't, like, Captain Marvel, where it's, like, okay, they have a couple swear words, but you can get away with taking little girls to see. Like, no, like, they talk about, like, there's a really awkward scene where, like, they go into, like, where, like, Yelena goes into detail about, like, her hysterectomy, and it's like, okay.
They took all the reproductive organs out and chopped them up. I was like, wait, I thought she was just, like, they were just chemically sterilized. I didn't think they were, like, literally just had, like, everything just taken out.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the only other thing I'll say. Yeah, so, other than that, I guess, like, in terms of, like, MCU stuff, the MCU project I'm most looking forward to at this point is probably Shang-Chi, just because the trailer looks really good, like, the fight choreography looks amazing. I want to see
epic kung fu fight scenes.
Yeah, like, and then, like, the CG actually looks, like, not terrible in that.
I mean, the trailers, they always show the best looking stuff, so the trailers can be deceiving, because, like, the trailer for Black Widow, like, the fight scenes looked really cool, too, and in the movie it was like, oh, this is actually not that good.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I guess, like, I'm still just, like, the shift of, like, more, like, kung fu, like, fight choreography is definitely, like, a welcome. Yeah, so that's honestly the project I'm looking forward to. Like, honestly, like, Phase 4 has been pretty disappointing at this, like, so far, to be honest. Like, the Marvel, I mean, I don't know, I like those, like, the series, like, I understand, because, like, that's new territory for them, but, like, the movies, like, should not be, like, it just feels like they just, like, have, like, kind of, like, lost their touch at this point. And I mean, like, again, like, I know that there's still, like, new projects that are coming out, and so, like, I'm still looking forward to those, but, like, so far, Phase 4 has been very disappointing. Speaking of the series, the last episode of Loki is coming out on Wednesday, and then after that, we'll do our review and prepare for a rant, because I have some shit to say about that.
Well, we'll see how it turns out, I guess, but...
yeah, so... that's pretty much it for now. I mean, I guess, like, for the sake of, like, just completion and, like, the MCU, I guess, like, you should still go see it if you want, but just know, like, don't set your expectations super high.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with the direction because like the MCU has never been perfect. Like there have always been like bad entries in the MCU, like Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 2. I mean, I have a soft spot for Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 is still bad, but there was some stuff in it that I can appreciate, even though like I understand why people say it's the worst Iron Man movie. But the thing about the MCU is like even when they had like some bad entries, they would always have something great that would come out and kind of save it. Like right after Thor: The Dark World was like Winter Soldier, which was like fantastic.
Yeah, and the thing about like even in like their worst like entries, there was usually at least like something redeeming about them that still made it worth the watch. Like I would argue Dark World is still worth the watch just for Loki because he's amazing in that movie. And like even like Ant-Man, like I'm not like the biggest fan of the Ant-Man movies, but at least like the lead character Scott Lang is still very charming and stuff. But like honestly, like
recently a lot of the stuff that they've been making just really like bland and kind of forgettable. Like not, and the worst part is that it's not, there's stuff in it that isn't necessarily like offensively bad, but it's just kind of like
yeah, like lately, like there's just been some stuff that like honestly I feel like are such like amateur mistakes, both in like the writing and the CG and the technical aspects. It's like, why would you not like fix that? Like you're seriously like paid by $1 billion corporation to write this stuff, and you can't, and you're making these like absolute like amateur mistakes and shit. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. Like, it's been very disappointing like lately, and I'm hoping that they start to kind of. I'm hoping that at least like with the reviews coming out and people saying that like this isn't the best that it could be, they recognize that like, hey, we need to like step up our game more. But I mean, if they're still making a shit ton of money regardless, like they might not necessarily have any like incentive to actually do that. So I'm hoping that they don't just like pump out more like bland stuff like this. But yeah, we'll see. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think I've said everything I wanted to say.
Yeah, so yeah, go see it if you want. Honestly, you won't be missing out on that much if you don't, though. Like, it's kind of skippable, to be completely honest, which is very disappointing because I do love this character.
Black Widow deserved better.
True, very true. So yeah, we'll see you guys in a couple days to review the Loki series, and yeah, bye!